If you want access to Dr. Jake's entire library of past webinars, as well as access to future ones, head over to daringventuresathome.com or click the link in the description.
So what are boundaries? All right, we're going to pick it apart into little pieces here. So first of all, boundaries are limits, okay? They are limits. So boundaries help define the space I occupy. Our skin is a boundary. My body is a boundary, right? My office here, I'm sitting in my office. There are walls and there's a door. That defines the boundary of my office, which is different from the boundary of the suite of offices here, which is different from the boundary of the floor we're on, which is different from the boundary of the building we're in, which is different from the boundary of the area of town we're in. You get the point. So boundaries define the space I occupy, where that space begins and ends. So they help define where I end and another person begins. That tells me what I can change and what I can't. So boundaries help define what I cannot change, but also what I can change. All right. That is crucial. Before you can set an effective boundary, you have to be clear on what's within your power. You can't set a boundary that's outside of your power. So for every one of these slides here, you're going to notice I've got an example of a way you might set a boundary. So on this one, it's that last bullet point. I can't make you go to therapy. See there, recognition of a boundary, of a limitation. I can't make you go to therapy, but I get to decide if I stay in a relationship with someone who has an untreated addiction. Do you see the difference? You have to go to therapy. You have to see a CSAT, and I want you to see him once a week. I want you to do a group, and you're going to do a meeting every day, 90 and 90, and you're going to No, you can make those requests. You can't make them do that. What you can do is decide whether you want to be in a relationship with someone who's not going to do those things. And do you notice, I want you to think about the difference in the power of how you say it, the words you say and how you say it. Think of the difference going to this person and saying, you have to get in therapy. You have to see a therapist. Okay. And saying what I have here. I can't make you go to therapy, but I get to decide if I stay in a relationship with someone who has an untreated addiction. Wow. That's powerful. You see the difference? One is, you feel the difference? One is grasping for something that's just not within their actual power. So there's like this churning that may or may not work, right? Versus, no, I'm clear on this. I know I can't make you do that, but I have this. So there's a comment here. If I said that to my spouse, they would say I was threatening to leave. Yes, that's exactly what you're doing, and it's within your right. You saying that is no worse than them saying, you being clear about what you need, and them saying, well, I'm not going to do it. Well, now guess who's threatening to end the relationship? Them, because you've just said what you needed. Okay? This whole, y'all going to get me on a soapbox here. This whole idea that ultimatums are wrong or bad or not allowed. Says who? Says who? Every relationship has a tolerance level and a limit. Okay? Yeah, that's an ultimatum. You're going to get treated for your addiction or I'm out. You think that's an ultimatum? You're right. Ball's in your court. And you see, if you can say it with a smile and you can say it without, blowing a gasket, all the more powerful because you're staying within yourself. You're staying true to your values. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right. Sorry, I got a little worked up there. All right. So boundaries are limits. They help me get clear on what I can change and what I can't. All right. Number 2, boundaries are protections. Boundaries are protections. So boundaries protect Okay. Relationships by, listen, maintaining individuation. All right. So when I recognize the limitations, when I recognize where I end and you begin, and I'm maintaining individuation, that is good for the relationship, because enmeshment isn't good for anybody. Anybody. Okay. Boundaries protect relationships by preserving the right of each person to make a choice about how they participate or don't participate in the relationship. So I have to have that clear limit about what's in my control and what's not, so that I preserve my power to choose and your power to choose. Because without that clarity, boundaries have lost their effectiveness. Boundaries protect relationships by eliminating the defense mechanism of false victimization and stuckness. Well, I've got no choice. She said I have to do it. I don't even want to do it, but she said I have to do it. I don't even want to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I don't even like talks. Those are a bunch of crazy sickos in there. I don't really fit in there, and blah, 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 blah. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here like a little victim, like I don't have a choice. Yeah, you have a choice. You can say no and leave the relationship. That's a choice. That is a choice. That you're not a victim because your spouse says they need you to get treatment for an addiction that caused them injury. That doesn't make you a victim. Okay. Now, in the same way, I'm going to flip that around, and here's where I ruffle some partners of some betrayed partners. Stuckness can be an illusion as well. Well, he just won't do it. He just won't go. He won't actually get in recovery. He won't actually go to meetings, or he won't, whatever it is. And there's nothing I can do. I've tried. No, you can do something. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. And there's all kinds of power dynamics here. I want to acknowledge that, especially in our society. I see it. It breaks my heart. Women who've spent their lives investing in the home, raising their children, just that they've labored there. And so now they don't have a way to provide for themselves. I validate that reality. There is a real victimization that happens around a lot of that. And you can begin making choices to protect yourself and take care of yourself. You don't have to stay in that. Stuckness is by and large an illusion. We're making choices all the time. So here's an example of a boundary that highlights boundaries as protection. If you choose not to honor my boundaries, I may need to choose to distance myself for safety. You see there? See how different that is from you violated my boundary. You violated my boundary. Get out. Okay, well, that's one way to do it. If you choose, see, because what this does is this highlights he's making a choice. He's making a choice. If you choose not to honor my boundaries, I may need to choose to distance myself for safety. You have the right to choose to honor my boundaries or not. I have the right to protect myself. So powerful. So powerful. Number 3, boundaries are clarifiers. They are clarifiers, okay? They bring clarity. Boundaries clarify the needs and wants of each person in the relationship. So not only do they let us let others know what we really need and what we really want, but they also help to clarify what we prioritize, what's most important to us or to our partner. So I can set a boundary that can help clarify my partner. So here's the example of this, and I'll use this example to break it down a little bit more. All right. So here's the example of the boundary. I understand you're saying you need sex, but I won't do that with you right now because I don't feel safe with you. Right now, I need you to choose my safety over your desire for sex. If you can't or won't do that, I'll have to think about what that means for me in this relationship. All right. So think about how that's clarifying. So it's making very clear, this is my need is safety. You're saying your need is sex, and I'm saying my need is safety. I'm telling you, all right, I'm telling you that I'm not going to have sex with you because I need safety. if you are prioritizing your need for sex above my need for safety, I'm going to need to think about what that means for me in this relationship. So when I frame a boundary around needs and wants, and I frame it in a way that it's about choices, I have a choice and you have a choice. I'm choosing to honor my need for safety, and I'm asking you to honor my need for safety, but you can choose to do that, or you can choose to keep saying you need sex. But that's going to tell me something. That's data for me. You see how that actually is very clarifying? See how that actually gives if I'm the one setting that boundary, that gives the one who did the betraying the opportunity to go, you're right. You're right. Your safety is way more important. Or it gives them the opportunity to say, that's ridiculous. I got to have it. That's important information for you to know. Right? Or I'm going to flip it around. Let's think now from the perspective. Let me speak to those of you who did the betraying. Maybe you're the one on the receiving end of a boundary like this, and it feels so unfair and all this kind of stuff. Well, maybe it does. Maybe it does. First of all, it wasn't fair what you did. That is what caused this lack of safety. Now you get to choose how you show up in this relationship. Are you going to choose to show up as someone who is now vying for his own interest? I want sex. Or are you going to choose to show up as someone who is seeking to help reestablish safety for this person who was hurt? See how it's clarifying? It clarifies, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What's my highest priority here? What are my needs and what are my wants? What's the difference between the two? I want sex. I don't need sex. What I need is a wife who feels safe. I need that more than I need sex. I want that more than I want sex. So it allows clarity for everyone involved. Number 4, boundaries are containers. Containers. So boundaries allow me to hold myself together, okay? To not give myself away, to know myself, my wants, my needs, my desires, my beliefs, my story. I can hold all that together in my boundaries. When I hold on to good boundaries, I'm not losing myself to every request that comes my way. When I say yes to everything, right? What is that really? That doesn't help define me. What I say yes to should help define me, should reinforce something about who I am and what I want and what I need and what I desire and what I believe and what my story is, right? A yes to everything dilutes my containment of who I am and my protection of who I am and my identity. Boundaries allow us to contain reactions rooted in fear that would violate our own values. So one of the most important boundaries that we have is our containment boundary. I've talked a lot about boundaries in a way that they're a protective boundary. Protective boundary, this is based on the work of PMLity. A protective boundary is my responsibility to protect myself from you. But a containment boundary is my responsibility to protect you from me. Okay? And so when I have good boundaries and it allows for containment, what that does is, if I have this reaction that would violate my own values and maybe violate you in the process, I can contain that. All right. So here's an example of boundaries as a container. No, I'm not willing to continue in this relationship without a disclosure. I believe I deserve to know the reality I have lived and need that for any chance of staying together. Right. So if I really believe, so this is about, right, my needs, my wants, not giving myself away. If I really feel like I need a disclosure, right? I need a disclosure. I believe that. I can say that. No, I'm not willing to continue in this relationship without a disclosure. I believe I deserve to know the reality I've lived and need that for any chance of staying together. So in other words, my choice is that we have a disclosure or we don't continue the relationship. Now, your choice is that you provide that disclosure or we don't have a relationship. You get to make that choice. just like I get to make this choice. It's at this point that some betrayed partners I work with get kind of mad. They say, but he owes it to me. But it's the right thing to do. But he shouldn't get to, say no to that. Well, I don't disagree with you that it's the right thing to do. I do think it's the right thing to do. I agree it's not fair for him to not do it, to not show up and provide for your needs after he's devastated you. And the reality is he gets to make choices. And you're going to get what you need and what you want better if you hold that reality in mind. And you're going to keep him from assuming some false victimization position by honoring and highlighting that these are choices he gets to make, and not trying to say he has to, he has no choice. He's got to, whatever. Nope. He gets to choose. And that actually keeps him from getting to assume a victim position. I mean, he can try to, but it's not valid. All right. Number 5, boundaries are guides. So boundaries guide me to get what I need and want while acting within my values. So they're going to help me meet those needs, meet those wants, while staying within some lanes. You see the lanes there on the track and on the courts there in the picture. And the lanes are about not violating my values. My partner's boundaries, listen to this. So if you're the one receiving a boundary, my partner's boundaries help me to know how to demonstrate my prioritization of our relationship and my trustworthiness. So in other words, when my partner gives me a boundary, so my wife says to me, I don't want you in a room alone with that woman. Right. What I get to do there, when I honor that boundary, I get to demonstrate this relationship is high priority for me. Me being trustworthy to you is high priority for me. Okay. Boundaries guide my partner and me to relate to each other as adults with mutual respect for ourselves, each other, and the relationship. And this is what I call the triple win, right? The triple win is what's best for, the one solution that is simultaneously a win for me, for my partner, and for our relationship. So we can work through our boundaries in a way that guides us with respect toward this triple win. Here's an example of a boundary as a guide. You can help me trust you more by respecting what I've asked regarding physical touch. This is one I see all the time. A partner says, I just don't want, I know in the past, I haven't minded you being grabby or whatever. I don't feel safe with that right now. Please don't touch me in that way right now. And the guy thinks he should get to, like it's a right or something, which it's not. And that tells us something about his values and his priorities. So when she says, you can help me trust you more by respecting what I've asked regarding physical touch, the way that boundary is framed right there, she's saying, listen, this is what I've told you, what's okay and what's not okay. And you honoring that is going to move us toward trust, toward there being trust again. See, there's a purpose here for it. And I'm asking you to choose to respect it.